don't want our people giving away discounts for no reason.
No.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
This was recorded in multiple parts in a moving vehicle, and the first half of this sounds pretty bad because, unbeknownst to us, while we were still using my phone to record and Dal was holding it and he had it equally between us, well, it turns out because of the automatic Bluetooth settings on my phone, which had paired to my car stereo, which is how I take phone calls in the car, there is a microphone on the dash right by the steering wheel. So that superseded the phone as the microphone recording device. So it was recording that way, which sounds terrible for a conversation of two people. And it also explains why I'm so much louder, because my face was right by the microphone. But it still sounds bad, and I'm recording this right as I'm editing, so I'm trying to clean it up as much as possible. So just imagine that it sounded even worse than this is now. Sorry.
Hey, Patrick. Welcome to another episode of Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast on the Yak Channel Podcasting Network. That said, this is not going to be very much of a comics industry business podcast, as you and I are both in a car somewhere in Indiana, driving back from Kokomo Toys, where we took a road trip out, not for store business whatsoever, but to buy toys.
Our taxes will say otherwise.
Yes, this was research. We were researching action figures.
I was going to say that being in a car is not the most ideal or optimal place to record, and I'm sure it sounds okay now, but as we get into faster speeds, you'll hear more noise from outside.
I don't know if we're going to be going much faster than this.
I don't know, but one of the reasons we're recording in the car is because of time constraints, because we don't have a lot of time this upcoming weekend. And I was going to say, because Friday night I'm going to see Dream Theater, but saying Dream Theater reminded me that we never talked about this side project you started a few weeks ago, and that would be Contest of Challengers Bingo.
Oh, right, yes. I don't know how we're navigating this as far as how we are releasing this project. You, a couple episodes ago, you had made some mention about things that we frequently say on the podcast.
Yes, like, I hate you.
Right. Well, usually we say that before and after, not during the podcast.
Okay.
But yes, something like that. And so, while you were editing the podcast, I thought it would be funny, just for you and I, to have a Contest of Challengers bingo, where I tried to write down a bunch of different common stupid things that we say or whatever. And I sent that to you, and like most things in Challengers, what started as a joke became, okay, what can we do with this?
How can we make this work?
Yeah, is there something here beyond just a joke? So there will be a link somewhere, probably at least on this episode's show notes on the challengerscomics.com website, to the Contest of Challengers Bingo card that you can generate, listener. Basically, we have a website where we plugged in a bunch of words. It will randomly generate a bingo card using those phrases.
It's not going to be every possible phrase. Obviously, that's otherwise.
I didn't think of that many phrases.
Well, I mean, no, we thought of more than a card can hold.
Right.
Because otherwise, everybody has the exact same card, just different orders. Like some things.
Well, even different order
can
create a winner versus creating a loser, depending on where those things are located.
Now,
on the card.
these people listen to Contest of Challengers. They're already winners.
We'll see about that. So there will be a link that you can go to. It will randomly generate you a card. And from that card, you can use that card on an episode of Contest of Challengers and potentially win Contest of Challengers Bingo. What you win, I don't think we've 100% decided yet.
I mean, I thought we'd we're going to make it like gift card related,
Yeah,
but
like
we have
gift
a
card.
lot of listeners who are not local.
Right, we'll figure something out.
Also, the bigger question I have for you and I is, how do we police it?
Well,
like, if somebody says, hey, I got bingo, it's not like we're going to listen back to find out where.
I mean, I might. If somebody wins,
Do they need to write down the timestamp?
that would be nice. There's not really a way to mark the online card to do that, so they would have to submit with the link to the card, because each randomly generated card will have its own unique URL. So they'll have to send us that URL so we can check the card to find out, A, did they even get bingo? And then B, if they did get bingo, we will need from them not an exact minute and second, but maybe like a minute at least of where we discuss this, so we can double check it to make sure, because
I mean,
I don't want to listen to an hour-long episode just to do someone's bingo card.
There's a way to make it easier but harder.
Okay.
Harder for us.
Oh, great.
Since I take show notes all the time, you play along.
Oh, no, I don't want to
You have your own bingo card.
I definitely don't want to do that. Nope. I do not want to do that.
But honestly,
Because
also,
even if I have a card, I won't have a list of all of the words. So I would have to have a separate list of everything.
man, there's police on either side of this street,
And then
here and there.
monitor the list for all 20-something of those phrases.
No, but I mean, just to be sure that we knocked out whatever.
No, I'm not doing that. No, it's up to the participants to give us a location in the episode of where those phrases were located at.
That plus, I feel that having the list of phrases in front of us will definitely make me more conscious of what they are, and so I won't say them.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
But for example, anybody that has a card that says Patrick names a band, you got a freebie. Because I mentioned Dream Theater at the start.
You did.
of this.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't. This is something that was a joke that became something that we're like, we can do something with it, but I don't want to make it work.
Right.
It's not worth it to be that involved in it, because it's just a goof. I don't want to make it a hassle. I don't want to make it hard work.
I mean, it was funny.
I hope it's funny. I had a good time doing it.
Going through and figuring out the things that we say over and over really makes you think more about the content of Contest of Challengers.
Yeah, there were 6 or 7 things right off the top of my head where I'm like, oh, we do that a lot. And then as I was rounding it out, there were a couple more I'm like, oh, yeah, we do that almost every time we mention that. But there's a middle section where it's like, how do I bulk this out? What are we frequently talking about without constantly talking about it?
And if there's a topic that we cover multiple times, obviously it only counts as one.
Of course.
You know, if we badmouth Marvel 4 or 5 times over the hour.
Sure. Well, on each card, nothing will be listed more than once. So it's not like Marvel will be listed 4 times on an individual card. It's only got one listed.
I feel like that should just come marked off on all the cards.
Nope.
Why, when they're releasing War of the Realms, which is their big event that they've been pushing for months and cramming down people's throats, so much so that for the first 3 months of release, there are...
the entire 3 months of release.
Okay.
That's the whole schedule.
Oh, okay. For the 3 months of this event, there are 62 War of the Realms products.
Yeah, counting... On Marvel's checklist, they count Mighty Thor number 1 3D as a War of the Realms tie-in, which is insane to me, because while story content-wise, it does tie into or build up elements of the story, it was also published like 5 years ago.
So, what I was going to get to is that War of the Realms number 1 comes out this upcoming week.
Yeah, April 3rd.
This is a thing they've been pushing for forever, right? It's their big release.
Yep.
Why would you also release Marvel Team Up number 1 and Major X number 1 in the same week? Why would you not give them some room to breathe? You're trying to get every person on the planet, every comic reader for sure, to buy War of the Realms number 1, and it's a, $12, $13 book?
I think it's $5 or $6.
Yeah. So, and then you're basically kneecapping Marvel 2-in-1.
So there's 2 schools of thought on this. One is your school of thought, which is that give these things room to breathe, give them each a chance to have the spotlight, give them each a week to be promoted at stores, rather than cannibalizing each other's sales. You know, people have X amount of money they're going to spend. Maybe they don't want to spend $30 on Marvel Comics this week. They want to spend $10, so they're going to pick 2 books instead of 3. The other school of thought is...
I like that there's a $20 gap for the third book.
Yeah, the third book's $20. They can only spend in 20s. So if it goes over $20 now.
Gotcha. The other school of thought is, if people are going to be coming in specifically for War of the Realms, why not show them what else is available? And since you're already in the store, look at what else you can get. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Marvel's right, and this is going to be drawing in a lot of casual or lapsed fans.
If Marvel is right.
Let's assume for the sake of this argument that they're correct, and people are coming in who have not read a comic in a year and they want War of the Realms #1.
They came in last week for Detective.
Then they'll see Marvel Team Up #1 with Spider-Man and Ms. Marvel on the cover, and they'll be like, oh, another #1. Let me try this out too. I don't know that is likely, but that feels like their thought process for how to maximize sales potential of an event like War of the Realms #1.
Well, considering there's 62, let's see, let me do the math. Let's say 14 weeks for this event,
okay.
Give or take.
Sure.
Because there's 5 weeks in May.
Yep.
And there are 62 books.
Uh-huh.
So that's at least 3 tie-ins per week.
At least 4.
So that's at least 4 tie-ins per week.
Okay.
I said at least 3. 4 is at least 3. So...
I mean, it's a little over 5. It's about 5 a week. Roughly.
Okay.
Depending on how many weeks.
So how is there... Then by that math, there's never a good time to release any of the other... any new #1s.
Yeah, although...
But
going off of your perspective, like, the argument could be made that doing it the week of War of the Realms #1 is giving it much less of a spotlight than doing it the week of Journey into Mystery or Giant Man or whatever. Something that's a little bit lower tier.
Now, we have one special order or one club order for Major X. We ordered low. We don't think people would care. People are finally not wanting those Rob Liefeld Superman variant covers.
Yeah.
But they're trying to make a big deal out of Eve L. Ewing.
Yes.
And there were a lot of people that wanted Ironheart #1.
Sure.
I don't know that those people are going to want Marvel Team Up #1, but they're not even giving her a chance. I don't think.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. But I also don't think War of the Realms is going to take all the oxygen out of the room.
Right.
So
I definitely don't. I think that they are, not only have they overshot with this, the amount of hype they're putting into absolute carnage already is absurd. I think that's less of a deal than War of the Realms, but...
Yeah, we sell less Venom than we do Thor, so that's an indication.
Yeah, we sell like 3 times as many Thors? Like 2.5 times.
Double, maybe? Thor's been dropping, so it's not doing as great.
Venom's not Venom's better than it ever has been selling for us, but it's still it's a third of Amazing Spider-Man.
Sure.
Anyway. I did derail us from talking about Bingo by bad-mouthing Marvel, so there's a
square for it.
Square, marked off.
Yep.
I think the squares are a lot of fun.
I hope so.
And honestly, if anybody is looking them over and you can think of a thing that's not on there, let us know, because it may just not be on your sheet.
Yeah, and
it may be a thing that we didn't even realize.
Like maybe we do, depending on how long it takes for a winner to be crowned, maybe we do another wave of these, maybe we change them up and we put some other stuff in. I don't want to crowdsource this, mostly because I'm a little afraid of exactly like what we'll find out about ourselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean we were just talking that my friend Bob had texted me about last week's episode, and the observations he had are things that we didn't necessarily think of as we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always interesting to see this through somebody else's lens.
Sure.
For example, we actually had we recorded last week after Friday of C2E2, but we still had Saturday and Sunday C2E2 activities that we hadn't talked about. And we were fortunate enough to be at 2 really fun dinners with a lot of people in the comics industry. And at one point on dinner on Sunday, Scotty Young came over, and he wasn't part of our group, but he came over to say hi. And he was talking about listening to the podcast as a way that he keeps in touch. Also, hi, Scotty. But he also said, man, you guys hate everything. I'm like, do we really? I mean, he thought it was funny. He liked that we do. I think he said, "You guys hate everything. I love it." But I'm like, I guess, like, we know that there's a lot of negativity, and we also know that, to quote Eric Bischoff, controversy creates cash. Like, they're better stories when we're angry, or it's a negative thing. I think it's I always liken it to when you're talking about your relationship. You always talk about the horrible things. You don't say, "They're the best person ever. I'm so glad I'm with them, and here's why." It's always like, "Can you believe they did this?"
Yeah. Frequently, I'll hear people in the industry, usually at the publishing level, who are talking about how, like, always keep it positive, and we want to create, a real sense of excitement about comics for fans. So, when retailers are complaining, that doesn't do us any good. But I guess, for me, the way I think about the Contest of Challengers podcast is not a, like, promotional podcast for challengers or a promotional podcast for comic books. It is a comics industry business podcast. So I don't want to make everything here's the bright side of all of these things. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not honest. I don't want it to always be negative, and that's something that I try and keep in mind, even though it doesn't necessarily, like, change the way that I conduct myself on this podcast. I'd like it to be something where we're at least occasionally talking about the things we're excited about, or the things that are working really well, or what people are doing right.
Oh, we just passed Eel River, everybody.
Good old Eel River and Eel River Road, Indiana.
And a little bit later in this episode, we'll be talking about a comic store we just visited. And on the one hand, I want to be supportive to other comic stores.
Uh-oh, there's two hands.
There are two hands. On the other hand, I didn't think it was a very good store.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Right.
I got some.
Right.
I mean, I don't have negative stuff to say about it per se, but I have
Just observations.
observations. I don't know. Should we just talk about that?
No.
first?
We'll lead up to it because we're still talking about C2E2 things. Like on the one hand, I want to give an accurate picture of what we were doing, but I don't want it to feel like
second hand.
I don't want to feel like we're name dropping.
Sure. How was the rest of your C2E2, by the way? You went back Saturday?
I did. I went back Saturday. I spent a decent amount of time talking to Alex Cox from the CBLDF and the gentleman who just closed St. Mark's in New York. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about vintage books and a project that the CBLDF is working on for the betterment of all comic stores, and that we're going to assist on. And when I say we, I mean Dal and I specifically, but also a lot of other stores are part of this, trying to make the retail landscape easier to navigate for everybody. But also, I got to finally get a photo taken with David Tennant, Doctor Who number 10.
You met a Doctor Who?
I did. I did not record it like I recorded the Wrestler Boys last time.
Uh-huh.
So, but there are pictures on the internet. It exists.
I don't know if the higher-ups at Yak Channel would let us do this, but I really loved if you would drop it to this point where I'm talking. The behind-the-scenes element of you meeting David Tennant, which is just clips from the David Tennant podcast episode, but you responding to his questions instead of, like, Jennifer Garner or whatever.
It was Kristen Ritter this week.
Yeah.
Very good episode. He did say, nicely done to us being myself, my brother George, and Parker of Parker's Pigs fame, which I believe he recorded stuff, but I haven't gotten anything in a week, so who knows. Yes, he said, nicely done. So there's that. And then we went back, and then I stopped by and talked to Luke Smarto at his Artist Alley table. He was kind enough to hold my coat because I had to park far away.
Thanks, Luke.
Yep. And he did me a wonderful Age of Ultron. No, not Age of Ultron. What's the last one? What was the last Avengers movie?
Infinity War?
Infinity War, thank you. Captain America and Black Panther sketch. And it's Captain America holding those two shields, and a little, almost cheapy Black Panther, but not, saying, I said get this man shields, not shin guards. It's pretty funny.
It's good.
Yeah. And it was a well done piece. I hope people had a chance to stop by his table and get some original art at the show. If not, it's too late.
Oh, it is too late.
No,
you can't stop by his table anymore?
No.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And then Sunday, we went back and I got you.
I think we talked about this on the last podcast. Maybe.
Well, it happened.
Yeah. Well, so when we were walking into C2E2 on Friday morning, we noticed that C2E2 had taken the 10 pages of comics that Ryan Brown did for them,
The Chicago Stars,
to promote C2E2, and blown them up really big is a series of, like, 6 foot tall I don't know what you even call them.
Panels.
Standees.
Yeah. A thick corrugated plastic.
Yeah, along the entrance. And we were excited to see that, not just because we're fans of Ryan's and we liked how the book came out, but that we were on 2 of the pages. So seeing them very big was like, hey, that's really cool. And Patrick's had pictures with them, and we...
Those are all up on Instagram.
Okay. And we ran into people from C2E2, and when it came up, we said, hey, we'd like to get those giant pages, like at least a couple of them, because we're on them. If you're not doing anything with them, if you're just going to get rid of them after the show. And we found out, yeah, it was fine. So Sunday, Patrick was hoping to hear from someone that we can come by and get them.
Well, I mean, yeah, you just said that we heard it, yeah, it was fine. We got an email saying, hey, we'll look into it for you, we'll let you know.
Sure, but it sounded like it was fine. I think we pretty much assumed it was just a matter of...
It was basically, so long as they weren't promised to anybody else.
When can we come and get them? And we found out when, and it was basically at like 5:15 on a Sunday night when we had plans to go out to dinner with people at 7. And like you were like, I just got the message. Should we go? And I'm like, yeah, of course we should go. Yes. So we hopped in the car, went over to McCormick Place, got great parking. Everybody was leaving, so it was pretty easy to just, like, since we didn't have to go into the show, we were just in the stairwell.
Yeah, it was on the landing between the stairs.
Yeah, we just crossed over the pedestrian bridge from the parking garage, went over, picked them up, picked up the 2 standee bases they came with, walked them back to the car.
We thought it would have been fun to take all of them, but they were so big, these 2 barely fit in my car.
Yeah, we would have needed like a dedicated van or truck bed or something.
And it was raining, so we couldn't try tying him down on top.
Yeah.
But it's funny making Dal have to crouch down.
Yeah, I had to scooch down in the passenger seat a little bit because it would bump my head. But we were able to get them back to the store okay, and the 2 we took, one is taking place at Championship Comics.
Yeah.
The second page is something where it starts at Championship Comics, but then it goes to 4-Star Studios, Ryan's studio with his studio mates. So we made sure that we grabbed that page to give to them.
Yeah.
So they could have that for their studio.
I didn't bring it over this week because I don't know how many of them are going to WonderCon. Who's going to be around. So I'll still wait a week until they're back and settled in, because for a lot of creators it went Emerald City, C2E2, WonderCon.
Yeah.
3 weeks in a row. But yeah, we were able to get those pages, and we will eventually, once Women's Comics Month is over, which by the time you hear this, it will be over, but if we put things back where they go, we'll find a spot for the one panel we're going to get. And right now I'm like, oh, we could go right here. I'm like, oh wait, no, that's where the posters normally go. They're just in the other room.
Yeah. Gotta wait until April 1st.
Yeah. By the way, when you're listening to this episode, especially because technically the episodes drop on Mondays, but I always put them up sometime Sunday night. And if you're listening to the Patreon exclusive unedited audio that goes up Saturday night, this next thing I'm going to say is too early. But if you're listening it normally on Sunday, that is our 11th anniversary.
Yeah, 11th anniversary. March 31st, 2008 was the first day of Challengers Comics.
So it is our 11th anniversary, the day this is going out, so congratulations.
Congratulations, Patrick.
After 10, everything's a blur.
Yeah, we stopped doing yearly anniversary parties after, I think, 5, maybe?
Well, technically after 4, because the 5th anniversary party was a hack/farewell party.
Oh, right.
And that didn't go away for long.
No.
Came back a bunch of times. That very party, he told us about the next thing they were doing.
Yeah.
Like, then why are we doing this party?
Yeah, why did we say goodbye to Hack Slash if you're doing another project?
And by he, I mean now the new managing editor of Heavy Metal Magazine, Tim Seeley. And we are now at the cow manure part of Indiana.
Yeah, we are.
It's very whippy. And at first, I thought Dal did something.
No, we found the part of Indiana where all the cows have to poop. Like, they can't poop anywhere else in Indiana. It's got to be here.
I like that you think it's all cows.
I hope it's just cows.
Don't light any cigarettes, anybody, in this neighborhood.
So
I was just going to say that, like, 11 years is forever, and there was somebody in town visiting the store who not only do they used to live in the city, used to shop with us, they were a club member. They were a former club member who came back to see the store because they were in town for C2E2. And I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And I did not recognize it. And I still don't.
Sure.
Like, 11 years is enough time to have forgotten people who were in club.
Yeah.
I mean, less than 11 years is that, for sure. But I like that I have 2 comic anniversaries each year, spaced about 6 months apart. Because my personal retail anniversary is the end of August, but Challengers is the end of March.
Okay.
So it's a nice, it's 6 months apart.
Nice.
So anyway, yeah, it's 11 years.
Yeah. I was going to say, we mentioned the Mobius part of Indiana. To remind everyone, we're in Indiana for this recording.
Yeah.
We decided to hit Kokomo Toys in Kokomo, Indiana.
It's a place that I've never been to before, but Dal had once.
Yeah, in fact, I think you could maybe, longtime listeners of the podcast, there's one from a few years ago that I think you posted, Patrick, where I was going to BotCon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did your BotCon travel
and
log.
I hit Kokomo Toys on the way down. So I think on that travel log I might have mentioned Kokomo Toys, maybe.
Okay.
Eagle-eyed listeners. I think that's the phrase, right?
Eagle-eared listeners?
Eagle-eyed, no. Eagle-eyed listeners.
What is a bat-eared listeners? How's that?
No, that's weird. So we decided Kokomo Toys would be a place
It's a
to
thing
go
we
to.
were wanting to do for a while now, but we just kept not being able to, and it's got to be on a Thursday.
Yeah, and the weather was nice, and we didn't have anything going on for the first Thursday in a while. Because it's a 3+ hour drive. 3 hours if you do everything correctly on the road.
And don't have any traffic.
Plus, if you don't do everything right on the road and or have traffic.
Look, bat-eared listeners will remember our Memphis car podcasts, in which I managed to go wrong ways twice on the way there. Also, once on the way to Gen Con last year.
Maybe.
But I think Gen Con coming home was fine.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't remember Memphis coming home. All I remember is we stopped at a Sonic. But Memphis is like an 8-hour car ride.
Yeah.
I don't want to do those anymore.
No, definitely not. So Kokomo Toys, it's a 3+ hour drive.
Let's say 4 if you want to take the scenic route.
Yeah, which we did.
Whether you know or not, you're doing it or not.
Yeah, 4 hours. So, Kokomo Toys is in, like, the downtown area of Kokomo, Indiana.
It's like the main street of a smaller town.
Yeah, it feels very small town, which I like.
Sure.
I initially kind of grew up in and around downtown Downers Grove, which has blown up a lot in the last few years, but at the time was very, it literally was Main Street from Maple to the train tracks, and that was kind of it. And that was just like 2 or 3 blocks. So it was not a really big area, but it was nice, and it felt, comfortable. And Kokomo, Indiana on Sycamore has that kind of feel to it. It feels very, there's the toy store, there's an Irish pub, there's a Wings sports bar, there's a comic shop, there's a parking garage. Everything's very, just
there's
5 or 6 places.
A giant praying mantis.
Yeah, there's a replica of the Liberty Bell.
There is a YMCA.
There is a city hall / police station. I like it. I like that kind of area. And we went to the toy store. We went to the comic shop. And the comic shop was interesting because in a lot of ways it's not a great shop. It's very back issue heavy.
It's back issue heavy, but they don't have any back issues. Like, they have very little boxes. It's a small store.
It's a very small store. I think it's maybe 700-800 square feet.
Yeah,
less.
And very
just long and narrow.
Narrow, yeah, very vertical. I was going to say, but very narrow.
Yeah, like it's maybe
very thin but long.
Yeah, it's maybe 10 feet wide. Like, it doesn't feel like a very wide store, but it goes back a distance. The entrance, right when you walk in, like literally when you open the door, that's where the counter is to your left. So the employee is right there to say hello to you, which is a little weird. Like, you don't feel jumped out at necessarily, but it's weird for them to be standing right there.
I was outside texting Donovan Challenger. Ding! There's a square. Doesn't help if I call them out.
It really doesn't.
because the law office next door had like 6 vintage typewriters in the windows. So I was sending her pictures of that. So I was still texting her while you went in, but you were holding the door open for me?
Yeah.
Or it just stayed open?
Yeah, I didn't realize you were texting, so I was kind of holding it like, hey, come on in.
Because I didn't want to walk in the store on the phone and be rude. So I was being rude outside.
Right.
So while you went inside, you were immediately engaged by the guy behind the counter.
Yeah.
Who was very nice.
Very nice, super nice. Like, he went above and beyond what you expect from a comic shop the first time you were there. It was very, where are you guys from? You guys are from Chicago? Well, let me tell you about Kokomo. And it started like kind of jokingly, like, oh, you're from a big city, this is a small town, you're not going to be that impressed. But the things he went into, I'm like, this is kind of impressive. Like, he knows a lot about Kokomo, Indiana. Like, what it's kind of famous for, what it's got that, like, people would come to see. And it was like, I'm not doing any of this touristy stuff, but yeah, I mean, I feel better about Kokomo, Indiana, for sure.
The largest stuffed cow.
Yeah, a giant praying mantis. Yeah.
The giant tree stump made into a phone booth.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I didn't want that conversation.
Yeah, it's something that we occasionally grapple with at the store, which is, how much do you need to be one-on-one with people before they can't shop your store?
Like, I feel like he was doing this because he was super bored.
Right.
Not for our benefit.
Yeah.
And I want to say, like, him knowing that we were from out of town right away, I assume it's because he didn't recognize us as regulars, and it's a small enough town that he would know everybody.
Sure.
But then the next person who came in was a club member who he did not know.
But he recognized them as a subscriber.
Yeah.
Like, he knew that they were a regular, but not who they were. Yeah.
Small enough that all their club books fit into a 4-drawer filing cabinet.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah, and
that's where the club is. That's where he got it from.
I didn't see where he got it from. They had... What I try and think about when I go visit stores is not just, like, how would I run this store if I had to run a store like this in this area? And obviously there's things I would do differently. I would shelf things differently. There was kind of a back area that was just piles of boxes and things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to be there. That can be done with...
He did say that he was not the owner, that he was just working there. He's also working on a pizza.
Yeah, which I can't ever fault someone for eating when you walk in, because I eat when people walk in. I got no choice.
But you're like, how's it going? He's like, good, now that I'm fed.
Yeah. He was talking to us the entire time we were in there. So, like, as someone who runs a shop, there's a ton of things day one I would do differently. They have a way there's kind of 2 aisles with the middle of the store separated by back issue boxes.
Yeah.
But on the back side of the back issue boxes, along one of the aisles, there's grid wall. So, like, basically, if you walk down the right side of the back issue boxes, to your left, it's grid wall with graphic novels singly spaced, face out. And to your right, it's comics, face out.
On, like, plastic shelves,
like
on
acrylic shelves.
On slat wall.
Yeah, the left side of the back issue boxes. To your right will be the back issue boxes that you can look through, and to your left, it's more back issue boxes and some of their, like, spotlight books. And then it goes basically around to the back, where there's kind of just a dead end. It's an interesting way of doing it because you can kind of maximize wall space, so to speak, by creating an extra wall. But everything's so narrow that it rarely feels like you've got the opportunity to really take it all in, because you're right in front of it. Should we stop for that?
Yeah, I think we should stop for 2 reasons. One, because it's starting to rain and that's going to come through sound. 2, I just noticed that the stereo is flashing talking, which means that the Bluetooth superseded and it's probably just going through this microphone. So we'll need to check the sound levels.
Okay. To be continued.
Where were we? We were talking about the layout for
the comic store.
Comics Cube.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were going to mention it or not.
We might as well. I mean, it's not like you couldn't go Kokomo Comic Shop and immediately find it. There's not that many. So Comics Cube.
He was a nice guy.
He was. Like, I got nothing bad to say about the customer service. It was really good. And like I was saying, like, there's the comics retailer part of me where I'm definitely more judgmental. But the comics fan in me, they stocked pretty much everything I would want. They had Assassination #1. They had Little Bird #1. They had pretty much all this week's new books.
Did they have KODT?
I didn't look, but I don't expect stores to have KODT. I could always special order stuff like KODT or things that are smaller press or less.
What about next week's Immortal Hulk? Do they have that?
I hope so, for $100. So if I lived in that neighborhood, I could shop at that store. I could make that work. I'd be all right with that.
Okay.
And from another perspective, like I really like working at stores like that. Like not that store in particular, but in those neighborhoods. Like I like the idea of like a local neighborhood comic shop.
Sure.
You know, lower stress. Clearly not as many people coming in. They're only open Wednesday through Saturday.
I mean, I also think you'd actually really enjoy, like, inheriting that store because of what you could make it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could do more with it, but, you know, I don't know what their customer base is like. I don't know what limitations I would have
Right.
based on what the expectations of that neighborhood are.
And Thursdays aren't terribly busy for us.
No, God, I've been in Challengers to check in orders or drop something off, and I've been there for 45 minutes and not a single person came in.
Sure.
While we were there, obviously the two of us came in and a third guy came in, so they're already doing better than some Challengers Thursdays in Chicago.
I bought a $20 book.
Yeah, there you go. And that guy bought his subscription stuff when he came in.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely things that I would day one do differently there. Things I'd move around, things I'd rearrange. But it's not a bad shot for where it is and what it's trying to do.
Well, so, I mean, here's the weird thing. So I said I bought a $20 book. I bought a $20 graphic novel. Hello, please. I bought a used copy of Bring on the Bad Guys, which is just a collection of single-issue stories that they packaged as one of the original trade paperbacks that made it into bookstores. Like I had Origins or Son of Origins.
I had Son of Origins.
Yeah. And this one was by Stan Lee. You know, he died recently, so this would be worth a lot of money. But I bought it. It was like, I think it was like a $6 or $8 cover price when it came out. They had it for $20. I'm like, fine, I'll buy it for $20. He gave me a 20% discount for no reason.
Yeah, we never identified ourselves as like being retailers.
Yeah. And I was buying it for me, not for the store. So he only charged me $16.
Although, worth noting, they do have a 4% fee for credit card transactions.
Which I always hate that bullshit.
Not a fan of that.
No. And he made me take one of those Marvel...
the War of the Realms
magazines. Because I'm like, I don't need a bag. Oh, but you get another free magazine with it, and it's Marvel. I don't want it.
It's going to go on the shelf at the store. So, yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want our people giving away discounts for no reason.
No.
Like, he's not the owner. Does he have that kind of leeway?
I guess. And, I mean, we weren't... It's a weird thing to give a discount when, especially, we're not from there. We identified ourselves as being, like, basically visiting.
It's not like you're earning our business to come back.
We won't be back for a long, long time, if ever. I basically go to Kokomo, Indiana every, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But he was a nice guy. I think, again, the store is good for what it does. I would, in the way that some people have a dream of running a comic shop, like I'd love to be able to make a living running like a small town comic shop. Like I could do that by myself.
Or any comic shop, let's face it.
Yeah, what? I liked visiting that store and seeing it in that neighborhood. 3 doors down from there was Kokomo Toys, which was our trip was for that reason, was to go to Kokomo Toys.
Now, I only had a little bit of previous knowledge of Kokomo Toys. I did look at their Facebook page, and I did look through a photo album of new acquisitions for the month of March. But they are, I want to say, predominantly older toys.
Yeah, they do buy collections, so a lot of stuff they have is going to be loose figures or tons of carded figures. Really old, like Star Wars, not really old, but, 20-year-old Star Wars figures in their packages that they're selling for $5.
They had the most Funko Pops I've ever seen in one location.
Yeah.
And they do Marvel Legends, but they must have had like 40 Kilgrave figures.
Killmonger?
Kilgrave, that's a whole different character. Killmonger from the most recent wave.
Yeah,
and
at least 40, maybe more Killmongers.
The purple Black Panther, they had an equal number of him.
Yeah. They had... it's good to know that they carry new figures. Like, they had the most recent wave of deluxe class Transformers figures. But likewise, there were 4 figures in the case, and they had a ton of 3 of them and none of the 4th one.
So I'm going to start by saying... We've been talking forever. One of the reasons I wanted to go to Kokomo Toys was, A, to find brand new wrestling figures that just came out. The ones I was looking for at C2E2 and didn't see.
Like Nikki Cross.
Like Velveteen Dream. Possibly the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. And also, I wanted to see what they had as far as toys that I collected as a kid, like the DC Superpowers, the Marvel Secret Wars, Mego, Shogun Warriors, stuff like that. I didn't see a ROM in there.
No, they didn't have one last time I was there. I would have told you if they had a ROM back then. You would have got a text from me saying, they have a ROM, do you want this?
So, the store is very large, very neat, very full.
I would also say very dim. The lighting situation there I was not crazy about.
Lighting's not great. They had a large number of flat screen TVs all playing Black Panther.
Which is great. I just rewatched that movie. I could stand to hear it again.
And the staff was very friendly, very helpful.
Yeah.
We spent like $270.
Uh-huh.
I say collectively to make it sound like it was both of us.
Sure.
When
both of us bought stuff.
Yeah. It was disproportionate.
Yeah.
But I can't help but feel disappointed because they didn't have the majority of what I was looking for. They didn't have any Secret Wars figures. They didn't have any Superpowers figures.
Yeah, when I went there a few years ago, I was on my way to BotCon, so I was kind of in a buying Transformers mode. I had a list of kind of what I was looking for, and I wanted to stop there to see if they had anything, and I didn't really see anything I was looking for at the time, so I went up to their front counter to find out if they were exhibiting it at BotCon, like maybe a bunch of stuff was going to be there. But I phrased it in a way where I think I'd said, like, was this all the Transformer stuff you have, or were you going to be setting up at BotCon? And when I got to, was this all the Transformers you had, they laughed, as though it was a ludicrous question because, oh my god, they have a ton of Transformers toys?
Yeah.
But they didn't have the ones I was looking for, and I thought maybe they were setting up, and then they said, no, they don't set up at shows. And I've been in that position. We laughed about it in the store recently where somebody had wanted to know if that was all the manga we had. And I realized that there's a ton of manga we don't carry, but we still have about, what does it work out to, 27 linear feet of manga?
Yeah.
We've got some manga. It's not hiding anyplace. Like there's 2 full bookshelves of it, more or less. So when someone looks at your selection, which you may think is exhaustive, and says, oh, is this it? There's kind of a pushback of like, hey, let's see you do better.
Now,
let's see you have more.
They also didn't have any new wrestling figures.
No, they did not.
They had a bunch of old wrestling figures. They had a bunch of old everything figures. They had walls and walls of toy lines I've never heard of before. And deep stock on them.
Yeah, but they are predominantly, if not entirely, a vintage toy store.
Yeah.
Vintage in the sense of like anything from 5 years ago to 50 years ago. And everything in between. But if you're going there expecting to see like the toy aisle at Target, that's not them.
Right.
That's not what they do.
I was kind of expecting that.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I gotta assume their business model makes more sense on a we buy collections of stuff and then resell it for a markup rather than having to deal with suppliers and all that sort of stuff.
Their hours are fairly limited. They're open 12 to 5.
Wednesday through Saturday.
Wednesday through Saturday. That's all.
Yeah.
And we were worried about them not being open today for some reason, so we kept calling yesterday and nobody would ever answer.
Yeah, anytime you're going to make a trip that's like 3 hours in one direction, you want to find out, look, am I reading these numbers right? Like, is the hours what I think they are? So yeah, you want some, just to verify, like, before I get in the car, you're open tomorrow, right?
And we always got the machine which said, hey, if you got this message, we're probably helping somebody else. And I'll admit, I didn't hear the phone ring at all today while we were there.
No.
But we then decided to Facebook message them, ironically knowing that it's a thing that people can't do to us.
Right.
And they responded saying, yeah, we're open. And then we said, yeah, all right, we're coming from Chicago. So I said, we're coming from Chicago and make sure you're open normal hours tomorrow. They said, yeah, we sure are. And I said, thanks. They said, travel safe.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah. They're safe travels.
Yeah.
But I mean, they are customer focused. When somebody's helping you, they're just helping you. In fact, when the woman was helping us, one of her coworkers said, hey, we have this. And she's like, I'm busy. She didn't say that, but she's like, I'm assisting someone right now or whatever she said. 49 and 1 mile.
Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, I did not go there looking for anything in particular. Older Transformers, I pretty much have what I'm looking for.
Recently old. You don't want
I don't
Transformers toys from your youth.
Yeah, I have no interest in vintage Transformers, but stuff from the last, 15 years.
How come they just went through those lights?
Boy, that's a red light.
Two 18-wheelers just went through
barreled
a red
through,
light.
did not slow down at all.
Wow.
Maybe they didn't know there were lights.
We don't want 49 North. Yeah, we do.
We do want 49 North, definitely.
See, this is why we get turned around a lot.
Because we're busy
like that.
chatting, and then all of a sudden it's, wait, where? I didn't...
Also, if you're not in the right lane and there's a truck next to you, they obscure every possible exit sign.
Mm-hmm.
So before you know it, you're well past your exit. Even though you knew, hey, your exit's coming up somewhere, you never saw the signs. You never saw the signs.
I never saw them. Here they are. I wasn't looking for any Transformer stuff. I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. I've been there before. When Patrick said he wanted to go, I'm like, I'll go. Sure, I'll take that trip.
I only went for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did look in their Transformer section, and they do have a ton of vintage figures, which I'm not that interested in, and they have more recent figures, like the last 10 or 15 years, and the few I'd be interested in at good prices, they didn't have in stock. So I walked away without getting any Transformer stuff. I didn't expect them to have any Kamen Rider Fig Art stuff. They did have one, but it was from a Showa writer, not a Heisei writer, and I'm not collecting the Showa writers, so I passed on that.
I acknowledge that those are completely different things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask you to explain.
No, and I'm also not going to clarify because you don't care. What I did end up buying, which I was really surprised I bought, were pop vinyls, which I don't buy. We can get all those we want, and I don't order any of them for myself at the store, and I don't buy them anyplace. The only time I've gotten them are as gifts, and that's kind of my rule, except we were there, and they were selling their pops for $8 each, which I'm like, that's a really good price. And they had 3 different Gwenpool ones. And I collect Gwenpool stuff, because there's not a lot of it. So I bought 3 Gwenpool pops for $24.
So I got you the Walgreens exclusive. I'm sorry, the Toys R Us exclusive.
Yes.
But you got a Walgreens exclusive.
Yeah.
And then you got just a regular convention exclusive.
Yeah.
And then what was the third exclusive?
Just a regular one.
Okay.
The one I had was, she's got a cell phone, and she's holding her cell phone.
Yeah.
The ones I bought were, she's holding a selfie stick, she's standing there with a sword, and then there's an unmasked one that I bought. And I think there's probably out there somewhere her with guns, I think is one. But I bought all the Gwenpool pops they had there. And I was fine with that. That worked for me. Yeah, I mean, for not going there looking for anything, I walked away and thought, okay, I'm glad I came. This worked out. Then we got lunch at Wings, etc., which I thought was okay.
I didn't talk about what I bought.
Did you want to talk about what you bought?
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you buy?
I mean, you talked about what you bought.
You did, it's true. I'd forgotten you didn't talk about it because you mentioned how much the split was, but I didn't realize you didn't talk about what you bought. What did you buy?
Well, I bought some pop vinyls. One that you caught your eye on first, what you noticed first. It was an exclusive that we didn't know existed. So they did Saga Pops that we've carried in the store before. And there was, the standard, your Marco, your Alana, your The Will, Flying Cat, and Prince Robot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here they had. Oh, we also had the Bloody Lion Cat free comic book day exclusive.
And there was a pink lion cat.
Okay.
Out there in the wild. There was also a Prince robot with a cracked face.
Screen. Yeah.
Probably some other ones.
Which, by the way, if they had, I would have bought.
Okay.
They also had some other store exclusive Alana with Baby Hazel, which is one that I don't recall seeing before.
No.
But the one that Dal found, because it was locked in a glass case, was a character I didn't even know they made a pop vinyl for. It was Goose in his PJs and flocked.
Yeah, so the PJs were fuzzy.
Yeah.
And it was only $15, which is one of the reasons I pointed out.
It was 25.
Was it 25?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 15.
No, it was 25.
Oh, never mind then. That's way overpriced. You should have not bought it. That's ridiculous.
I thought it was adorable, and I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, pretty great.
So I got that. And then they had an FY. They had a lot of elsewhere pops from other places.
Mm-hmm.
I did like they had signs all over that said, "You're not going to find any Chase variants on the shelves."
Yeah, the $8 shelves aren't going to have Chase variants.
Yeah. Previously, I bought from Toys R Us when that was still a thing. I bought a New Day, a WWE New Day 3-pack. Well, this was an FYE 3-day pass for C2E2. A New Day 3-pack, but they all had Bootio's cereal. Kofi had a bowl with a spoon, and Xavier Woods and Big E each had boxes of the cereal. So I had to get that. And that was only $15, which is insane for a 3-pack of Pops.
Yeah.
Especially when it was from a specialty store.
It's like half price.
Yeah. If not less than half. So I happily got that. And then they did have some Migos.
So you said you looked at the Marvel figures, like the Superpowers and the Secret Wars and the DC figures and all that?
No, I'm saying they didn't have Secret Wars or Superpowers. They had a lot of Marvel Legends.
They had Superpowers.
Did they?
Yeah.
Where were they?
Some were in the glass case and some were just out with their figures.
Huh.
They're 3 3/4. Do we have to go back?
No.
Okay.
That's fine though, because I spent a lot of money on 2 Mego dolls. I bought a Captain America and a Falcon. Both are figures that I have, but these came in boxes. Now, not the actual boxes they were bought in, but replicas that still look pretty great.
Yeah, they look great because they were replicas.
Yeah.
Because someone's like, hey, I'm going to make the old classic boxes, but they're not going to be 30 years old.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they had some Migos still sealed on the blister cards.
Wow.
Which were amazing, but like because I was talking to the woman, like, yeah, I remember buying these. She's like, yeah, you opened it, didn't you? Of course I did. I was a child.
Yeah.
I was buying a toy.
Yeah, it was a superhero action figure.
Yeah.
I opened it.
The Invisible Woman still on card. I won't say mint on card because there's some discoloration. $400.
Yeah.
A loose Invisible Woman, but in good shape, $200.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of very cool, very high-priced vintage stuff. Like, I had G.I. Joe stuff as a kid, and one of the coolest G.I. Joe things ever was the Defiant Space Shuttle playset, which is a gigantic space shuttle. They had it for anywhere between $600 and $800, depending on how discolored you wanted that white plastic to be. No, I wish. That was the coolest one, though.
Okay.
But you could also get what I feel is the second coolest one, but probably the most expensive one, the USS Flag playset, which they had in box for, I think, like $2,000.
Wow.
And I mean, the box is gigantic. You would need to rent a van to get it out of there. It's huge. But they have all that stuff. Like, they are, I think, more well-known online in the G.I. Joe fan community because of how much loose, old, and fairly recent G.I. Joe stuff they've got. They have a lot of G.I. Joe things. But they have a lot of things in general. They have a huge section of the Star Trek Playmates figures.
Yeah.
The Star Wars figures from every era of Star Wars. Carded, loose, otherwise. A ton of random action figures and stuff from the 90s and 2000s.
They have a ton of just loose bagged figures that I can't imagine that they have in their system anywhere.
Yeah, I wonder.
because there's no markings on the bags.
No.
There's just a price. Like, they're not even labeled. There were some wrestlers, I'm like, I don't even know who these are.
Yeah, and there's some where they just threw together like 3 or 4. Like, you could get a bunch of random loose Star Wars figures for like a bulk price, because they know that there's so many Qui-Gon Jinn action figures out there that it doesn't. Don't bother pricing them out. It's not worth your time. Just throw that together with like 7 other Episode 1 figures for $10. Be done with it.
Yeah, it's an impressive store. It's a big store. I honestly went away wishing there was more stuff, but I also spent way more than I thought I was gonna.
Yeah, it's this weird thing where because they have so much stuff, there's this expectation that they must have everything. So when they don't, it's like, oh, I'm still walking away without getting what I want, despite them having 10 times as much stuff as I've ever seen in one store.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been in a vintage store that is that well organized and has that much stuff on display for people to look at. And yet I spent $24 on Pops, so I don't know what to do with that information.
Wait, that's not right, because if we spent $260, you couldn't necessarily only spend $24. Doesn't make sense. Oh, you forgot to add in lunch. Got it.
That's right. $20 for my lunch.
But to sum up, helpful staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed looking at it. Part of me thought we should stay longer because of the drive, but it's not their fault how long the drive is.
Yeah,
and honestly, once I committed to getting those 2 Migos, I didn't really need to find more things to buy.
No, like in your head, you were already putting back things because you were going to be getting those Migos.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm not getting that Doctor Who figure.
Yeah. I didn't need it. Like, that was if I'm not buying anything else, I may as well make this trip worthwhile.
Yeah, I'll get one thing.
By getting hologram 10th Doctor.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason why I got those Pops. Was, I mean, I came all this way. I should get something, right? Like,
you got all the camaraderie.
Yeah, it's not a bad trip if I bought nothing, but I do like Gwenpool, and I do have a Gwenpool Pop. I could use some more Gwenpool Pops. They're probably not making any more anytime soon.
All right. We're not going to subject you to any more of that. Listening back, the car noise is pretty loud. And I'm sorry we did it, but it's just a matter of circumstance to be able to get a podcast recorded this week. So hopefully you found some value in it if you stuck through it this long. If you did, this is the point where, since it's not only our anniversary episode, it's the first episode of a new month, so I would like to thank our patrons. And if you want to be a patron, if you think there's some type of value that you get from this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/challengers to become a patron. We have a $1 level, a $2 level, and a $5 level. And one of those levels lets us thank you on the air. We call this on the air. Is it air anymore? On the net? On the web? It still feels like a radio show, so we're just going to say on the air. So thank you very much to Matt Armstrong, Christina McChrystal, Ryan Alcock, Robert Lane, Michael Lee, Morgan Kaiju Perry, Jacob Sorelli, Mitchell Davies, Thomas Nagovin, Michael Romanenko, Jose Villagomez, Artie White, Margie Springham and the whole Springham family, and my brother George. And since this is the anniversary podcast, I'm going to keep going for some people that almost never get mentioned. Mark Mislauskas, Leaf Smith, Robert Anderson, Chris Burton, Ivan Morales, Chrissy Miller, Don Cardenas, Matt O'Keefe, and Ryan Bravo. And Leaf, I know it's been over a year since we said we would have you on. We still plan on it. It's just a matter of technology. We'll get there. And hey, speaking of getting there, if the there is Challengers, here's the events we have coming up. As you know, Women's Comics Month has just ended, and we are about 2 weeks away from ending the Challengers vs. All-Star Little Bird #1 sales battle, in which we find out which store can sell the most copies of Little Bird #1 between Melbourne's All-Star Comics and Chicago's Challengers Comics and Conversation. And I gotta tell you, talking to Mitchell just yesterday, it seems like there is a mere 1 copy difference between the stores. So we're running down to the wire. We still have copies left. They still have copies left. Pop in, why don't you, and pick up Little Bird #1. It is already sold out through Image and going to a second print, but all the copies we have right now are first prints. On Easter Sunday, we have Champions Day with Marty and Sarah, which is a full-day event for families. It is a ticketed event that costs $20. Tickets are available through links on our website and on Facebook and Eventbrite. And for your $20, you get a hardcover all-ages wrestling-themed book, either Wrestling Dreams featuring Colt Cabana or The Young Bucks Stand Tall featuring the Young Bucks. What's in a Name, mini comic written by Marty and drawn by Sarah, and also written by Sarah. A comic book from us, a Marty and Sarah pin, and a bookmark. And there's going to be a live reading of both books by Wrestling Dreams illustrator Erica Weitz and Sarah Shockey. Family-friendly Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling show, live drawings, and more. And, of course, a Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling merch table. That brings us to Free Comic Book Day on May 4th, Saturday, May 4th, from 8 a.m. Yes, we are opening at 8 a.m. We will have cosplayers, thousands of free comics, and for every hour we're open, we will have multiple creators in doing sketches and selling their own local stuff, including Brian Crowley, Dan Doherty, Don Cardenas, Brian Mead, Alex Rosado, Andrea Bell, Tyrell Cannon, Arcangelo, and Ashley Riot. Right after that, on May 13th, which is a Monday, The Little Girls Release Party. The Little Girls is a brand new image graphic novel by Nicholas Aflegier and Sarah. I worked so hard on his last name, but I blow hers. Nicholas Aflegier and Sarah Delane. And they will have music for live bands from Catchy and Gentle Heat. You can find out more about both those bands on our event website, or on the event listing on our website and on Facebook. And it's going to be a party for the book. And of course, the second Monday of April is Women's Comics Night. And because of the Little Girls release party, Women's Comics Night has been bumped to the third Monday of May. So that keeps you up to date in the events we have. We have more things coming, nothing carved in stone. One of them is a Floppy Cop release signing with a bunch of creators from that Source Point Press book. And the other two hopefully materialize with big name creators. We'll wait and see. But anyway, thank you for trudging through this car episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for 11 years and counting. Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.